Now, this is just made out of thin plastic, and you're actually seeing the inside of it. If you take a picture of it with a camera what it looks like, you have no reason to not think that it wasn't two brass nuts. Now, I have little optical illusions you hold in your hand too, and those little things, obviously when you look at it with both eyes open, you intellectually know what it is, and they're reversible things like this. But your wonderful mind will say to you, I don't care what you intellectually know it is, I'm telling you it's this. And it will reverse it, whether you want it to or not in cases. So I think that what goes on between that picture on the retina and when it's decided in here is a very fascinating thing. We're a wonderful society and highly technically advanced. We send people to the moon, but in most cases, this one isn't as bad as some. We're not supposed to pull it out by the cord, but we make the plug-ins on the end, they're frequently tapered. And you go to wash your face in the bathroom, and the things to turn the faucet on are little tapered things instead of having a lever or something. So when you go to put a key in the lock, regular key, 100 years ago, if the locksmiths had just realized of that problem and said to themselves, okay, every lock we ever make, we're going to put a mark to indicate which is the backside or which is the teeth side. But we have sometimes strange ways of working. Now, to get back to how we perceive reality, if this were a huge room here, we're looking straight down on a huge room. We're in this end of it, and it's foggy. We can only see 5 feet. Like I'm here, and say this is foggy, and I couldn't see but 5 feet out there. Great big room. I roll a basketball out. It goes into the fog, and it comes back over here. And then I roll it here, and it comes back over here, and I keep rolling that basketball out there, and I keep a record of it. And then I can say, I think that out there about X number of feet, there's a barrier or something that ball is bouncing off of, and it's shaped about like that. Now, if I rolled thousands and thousands of little tiny balls, I could make a far sharper guess at what I think the shape of the thing is. I wouldn't have seen it. I would have had no actual contact with it. All I'm doing is interpreting something that's bouncing off of that. And I could be totally wrong. There could be a bunch of little men out there playing games and rolling those things back to me. And I maintain there's no difference between that, or a little difference between that and you seeing me and me seeing you. Except that we are using photons or waves, whichever you want to call it, and they're infinitely fine by our standards. And it's still an absolute assumption of what is out there. I can't even really literally touch this podium. I don't know anything about subatomic particles, but it's not an actual contact. I just get sensory input that tells me that my hand's touching. And if someone could take my nerves that detect touch and cross them with my nerves that detect temperature, if I put my hand down here and pressed, I would feel heat, or get the impression of heat, I should say. I want to tell you briefly about one time that my mind misperceived something that has happened many times. I was getting into Hartford, Connecticut on the train. I was supposed to call this friend of mine who was a doctor. He was going to come pick me up, and he's also a magician. And there was a row of booths there, and I went to the first one, and I phoned for Dr. Johnson. Some of you may have known Jim Johnson. You probably did. I don't know whether he's still around or not. The nurse said, the doctor is with a patient, he'll have to call you back. So I sat and waited, and I'm impatient when I'm waiting for a phone call, and worried for fear something will go wrong. So I thought, well, while I'm waiting, I'll call Air Freight and see if this package is coming in, or Air Express. So I went to the next booth and didn't want to try out that one. And I'm describing what we magicians call effect now. I did Air Express, and before the guy had picked up the phone started ringing for me in the next booth. And since he hadn't picked up the phone, I just hung up and I rushed in there, picked up the phone, I got a dial tone. I went back in the second booth, I dialed Air Express again. And this time, when I tell the story, I thought he had just picked up the phone. And I thought, and the phone started ringing for me in the next booth. And I violated one of my rules. I always apologize if I ever did anything like that or got a wrong number. I thought, that guy will really be mad at me now. And I hung up on him. And I rushed into the next booth and picked up the phone and got a dial tone. I had written the two numbers on a file card, and I was phoning from booth number 2 and trying to answer it in booth number 1.
You ever get a message?
Should have faxed him, you're right. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I just realized, you know, if one has, I don't have a drinking problem, if one has a drinking problem, there's nothing to be done until they recognize the fact, you know. Well, I finally recognized the fact some time back that I was a procrastinator. And you'd think that would have solved the problem, but I found out that what I am is, I'm a recovering procrastinator, but I'm starting tomorrow, and that's my consistent problem. Let me show you another optical illusion. You'll need to, especially those people close, you'll need to look with one eye at this, if you would. Otherwise, it won't look. I'm not trying to fool you with it. In fact, it has fallen to pieces. That should look like the outside of a box. And if you get it to look like the outside of a box, and if you move back and forth sideways a little, you'll see the box turning. Now, it's sort of a negative box, so I'm going to add this flat panel to this negative box. And you will note that it now looks like I have cut the corner off of the box. Now you can see into the box. Now I'm going to put this tube in there.
Jerry, I think we need better light on it. We're getting shadows from above.
That is the desperate problem in such situations like this.
Can you turn out the light? Does that help?
You can try turning out the lights. Well, that one is affixed to that. And I'll turn it on, but I don't quite. Well, you get some ambient light. I think that makes it worse. Well,
can we open a curtain at the side?
yeah, open the back. Well, I don't think that will work. We can try it. It's right at the corner. Might work. That helps.
Turn the box slightly like this, Jerry. Yeah.
If I go too far, they won't be able to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, now,
That's good.
I'm going to move it back and forth. It's still falling to pieces. And it'll look like that rod is a gun sticking out of a gun turret and weaving back and forth. And if I leave it still and you move your head back and forth sideways, you'll see that tube looks like it's twisting. Of course, again, this is just, I've drawn on the inside so it looks like the outside. And your wonderful mind, even though you know precisely what it is, it will instantly, in normal circumstances, reverse it so that it looks like the outside of a box, not the inside.
It's coming out real well on video.
His video only has one
You
eye.
fooled the camera.
Right, on the
You've been doing that.
the video, that's the advantage, is it does only have one eye. I used to say, if you'll forgive me, I used to say that outside of Richard Nixon, the greatest curse that ever befell America was television. Because of, not the medium itself, because it has raised generations of human beings who have sat there and vegetated and said, entertain me. It's the worst thing in the world. And I think one of the things that puzzles do and other things is we encourage people to think. And the greatest thing we could do almost is to encourage young people growing up. I talked, did you see that little baby crawling around up there today? Cutest little thing, cuter than a bug's ear. Less than a year old. Her eyes were bugged out like that at all the wonderful things. And I talked to the parents. I said, look at that. She's just looking at all the wonder of this, and her little mind couldn't possibly appreciate it. And unfortunately, when her mind gets to where it could, it usually doesn't because we're sated with it. We don't wake up and say, hey, it's wonderful that I can see. You can think a thought in your head, and you can expel air past your vocal cords, and it makes air compression layers, wiggles my eardrum, goes in code to my brain, and I know what you've said. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. We're almost finished here, but I want to take time to read a real short thing. I'm going to publish a book of philosophy someday, mostly free for us. And I thought many times of the incredible wonder of this thing in here, this physical thing in here, that with electricity and chemistry can think abstractions and this incredible awareness of self. And that's what this very short thing is about. If you're bored, you won't be bored very long. It's called What a Wonder. That's this. I don't mean mine, I mean ours. Look what the brain has done with the circuit set flow and its hidden convolutions. It has taken a chemical action of atoms through a cell wall and created the sparks that jump the synapses, has wrought from this tangle of cells the sparks of reason, and within a brain created from sparks to reason, from darkness to dawn. With and within the concrete, it has brewed the abstract. With and within the brain, it has given birth to the mind. From darkness to dawn, what a wonder. Let me take this down and I'll show you. In fact, a gentleman that is in this very room that named this thing. It's called a trizonal spaceworm. And I have to thank Ray Hyman for that name. I'm going to spin this, and I want you to stare right at the center of it for 20 seconds. So I tell you to look away and then look at me.
We put some light on it, Jerry?
Both eyes.
Both eyes.
Some light on it.
It's sort of a weird thing just to look at. Now, they've known about this spiral illusion for ages, but this one is more powerful because it has these extra zones. Keep staring right at the center. Keep staring right at the center. Okay, now look at me.
No, that's to take your head pretty swell.
They don't totally understand how it works, but there is I'm not sure whether they've actually detected that there are lume and zoom detectors in our mind. But let's assume that there are. For instance, there are red and green detectors, if you want to call them that, and they're balanced, so if I look at white, I see white. So if I stare at a red dot for a while, my red sensors get fatigued, for lack of a better word. And when I look away to a white wall, I see a green spot because now my green sensors aren't any stronger. They're working normal. Red sensors have been temporarily fatigued. So if there are lume zoom detectors, for instance, when we were primitive people and we saw a tiger and it was getting bigger, we were not supposed to stop and ponder, is it growing or getting closer to us? I'm going to spin it the other way, and then I want you to look at the back of your hand when I tell you to look away. Just keep staring right at the center. One minute. 1 minute. Keep staring right at the center. Okay, now look at the back of your hand. You see the skin crawl. Now the question. It is possible to see some color. It works a tiny bit like the Benham's discs sometimes. And interestingly enough, years ago, somebody discovered that the effect with Benham's discs was much greater if you wore red glasses. And I've experimented with that with red glasses on and a bright light on it, being close to it, and you get some interact. You do get some color. You get, in fact, with the red. I have a 1,000-watt red spotlight that I shine on a particular Benham's discs that I have built, and you get the colors are far, far greater than you get normally in white light. And under a red spotlight, you will see vivid greens and yellows and purples. Very, very interesting. Now, are there any questions about what I've had to say? I call it trizonal space warper. Ray, what?
Well, there's the well-known spiral illusion, but Jerry has done something very special, which is quite unique. He has added, he managed to figure out how to reverse the spiral 2 times, so you're getting 2 zones, you're getting the depth. So, but the simple spiral, just one spiral, is known as spiral illusion.
Yes.
That's very similar to what happens if you're looking at the back of the car for a long time. And
Absolutely.
everything's
Absolutely.
like-
Also called the waterfall effect if you watch a waterfall. My time is almost up, but since I'm a magician, why, perhaps I should do a trick.
Okay.
I call this the perfect illusion. This is yellow spot on this sheet of plastic. Now, it isn't literally perfect, but I call it the illusion of the yellow ball. And doesn't that just look solid? Would you drop it in the cone for me, please? Now, you will all recall, remember, first it was flat like that. First it was flat like that. And then it was the illusion. There it is, of the yellow ball. Watch the illusion of the yellow ball. Let me explain what happens. You see, I form this into a cone around my left index finger like this. Now, it is empty. The only thing I have to be careful about is that if it gets too large, obviously the ball could get out. I'm going to roll this into a tube instead of a cone. You can see that the ball is still in there. Now, if I put one hand over each end of the tube, we all know it is literally impossible for that ball to get out, and this it is indeed, flat like that. Now, let me explain what happens. I form this into a cone like this, and we have the perfect illusion of the yellow ball. When I was trying to figure out some way to vanish a rubber ball, I thought of having it go up my sleeve. That isn't very practical. I discovered a very simple way to vanish a rubber ball. I discovered zone 0. No one ever thought of it before. This is zone 0. Whatever goes through the hole into zone 0, it instantly vanishes. Now, the beautiful part about it is sort of like a functional black hole. See, I can reach right in here and retrieve it. I did research on this, and I discovered that it doesn't actually vanish when it goes through the hole. It's when I take my hand out that ball is gone. I'm talking about totally, completely, absolutely gone, but always instantly retrievable. Thank you for your attention.
Fellow that teaches gifted children, puts optics in bottles, teaches mnemonics, does magic, makes people think a lot. Please welcome Mary Ann.
I hate you, Jerry. I have to follow you. I was just told about 10 minutes ago I had to do something. So what can a Chinaman do? A sneaky Chinaman, that is. Can you hear me without the mic?
Yes.
Can you see me?
No.
Can you smell me? Never mind. Now I want you to think of a number between 1 and 2. You got it? Is it an odd number? What? Odd number, see, I got it. I wrote it down. I knew it was going to be 1. Now I'm going to show you how to make a one-page computer. See, this is very easy. But we've got some authority on computers. I am really, Now this is just 2 memory banks. See, so 1 and 2. So they say, think of an odd number. It's an odd number this side. You say no, you turn it over, it'll be the 2, right? So let's double the memory bank of a computer by just folding it like that. Now we have double. Now we got a memory bank of 4. So okay, think of a number between 1 and 4. Okay, is it an odd number? It's an odd number, so I don't turn it over. Then the next question is it over 2? If it's over 2, then I pull away the no, and so then we come out 3 is your number. So very simple. Okay. Now let's double our memory bank again by giving it another fold, which increases to 8. So we got 8 numbers. So my first question, I don't think of it. Is it number between 1 and 8 now?
Okay?
Okay. Is it an odd number?
No.
No, it's not an odd number, so that I know that's me no. See? Now my next question is, so when you go vertical plane now, is it over 5?
No.
It's not over 5, so then I pull away the not. See, so I keep the nose. Then my next one, is it over 3?
Yeah.
Yes, it's over 3, so we get rid of that. There's your answer. Right, now let's increase the memory bank again. We fold it again in half. So now we got a number between 1 and 16. So, sir, would you think of a number between 1 and 16? You have it in your head?
Yes.
Okay, is it an odd number?
No.
No, so then you turn it over. Very simple. Now you can do this without looking. You do it with your eyes closed. Now my next question is it over 9?
Yes.
Yes, so it's the yes side and no side, so I pull over the no side. Now we have that. Now my next question is it over 13?
Yes.
So we pull away the nose down the bottom. Then the next question is it over 15?
Yes.
Over 15, so we pull the yes. And that's your number, sir. Right?
Yes.
So that's how that works very easily. Any question up to that point? Now we can increase this here to so this 16, 16, that's 32, right? So I have one that's, you can keep folding. Now you want to do names, you want to do fruits, you want to do animals, then you have to program your computer as to what you're going to use, what kind of words you're going to use. And so let's go with, does it have odd numbers of letters? Does it begin with letters from A to K? Does it have an R in it, an L in it, or N in it? So now you're going to make your own computer. You're going to be a magician. So you can begin to predict, I lost my pencil. Oh, here it is. So first question is, besides odd. So I want okay, Tyler, we're going to make you work twice as hard here. I want you to think of a name, all right? Just anybody's name. And I would ask you, does it have odd numbers of letters?
Yes.
Yes, okay, then on this side. Okay, does it begin with letters from A through K?
No.
No, so then this is yes, so we said no, I keep the no side. Left is no, right is yes. Okay? Then I would ask you, next question is, okay, does it have a letter R in it?
Yes.
Yes, so then this is no, so I get rid of the nose. Next question is, does it have an L in it?
Yes.
Yes, so then I get rid of the no on this side, and so these two squares would have an L in it. My next question is, does it have an N?
No.
No, N, top is yes, bottom no. So then I ask, what is the name you have?
Tyler.
Tyler. Okay, we'll put Tyler. T-Y-L-E-R. See now, if I come with the guy named Tyler, you do it, you will end up with their name in that square. See, so you can do any subject you want. Because you can make it, and you can go underneath the table because you know right is yes, left is no, top is yes, bottom is no. So you fold up, then I come up and says, you're thinking of Tyler, and the guy says, right, and you hold up their name. So that will work. Now, if you want to increase the memory, you can fold it again in half. Or Or if you get two names on here, like Mary and Ruby would come onto the same square, then all you have to do is, and when you look at it, I got Mary and Ruby, and I said, does it start with the M? They say, yes, it's Mary. They say, no, then it is Ruby. See, so you have to think when it gets into the corral system. So any question how to make a one-page computer? No question? I guess that's it then. Anything else? Thank you. Rope trick?
Got it dangling.
Well, you've seen the tape already. So. Well, the fingers here. Now, how many ends on the rope?
2.
Okay. If I cut off 2 ends, how many ends will I have?
4. 0.
How many ends? 6, right. The fingers say 6. Plus mine makes 7. Right? And so, now this rope, very intelligent rope. When it went on jury, it was called to go on jury duty. Smartest rope was called to go. When it goes on jury duty, it meets around and comes on and says, "Not guilty." Not guilty. That is not guilty. Or sometimes it would go on jury duty, and sometimes they get a. So this time meets and it says, "Guilty. Hang 'em." Now, sometimes in this country, you don't have trial by jury. In China, they don't have trial by jury. And here comes the judge. And the judge sometimes would come in and say, maybe no decision, or the judge would say, no decision. Or the judge could say, not guilty. Or the judge, sometimes you get one of these that are no decision.
Ooh, hang it.
Hang him, jury, hang him. So when I first started learning to tie knots, my master said, learn to tie the simplest knot there is, and it's just a simple overhand knot. That's just a simple, and I tried and tried, it was not to be. And so I tried and tried again, and I said, pull it through, begin to slowly tighten it up. That's what you have to do, not to be. And so finally, my mother taught me how to tie my shoelaces, and I tied my shoelaces like that. I always had one end, that end would jump in through the loops while I'm chasing the girls in school, and I would get this knot that I wouldn't. I used to cheat and didn't brush my teeth in the morning, because bad breath goes, does it every time. Now, I was over in England. While I was at England, I learned that Robin Hood country. And so I learned to tie the Robin Hood with a bow and arrow, they shoot us through. Missed. Hey, no one's perfect. Okay, so we try again. And you get, now that knot came straight from Buckingham Palace. And then, of course, I learned to penetrate matter. When I went to India, it had a guru, and the guru would say, make it go through my thumb. Now, at no time do my fingers leave my hands. 1, 2, 3. And right through. Stuart, you kind of have that doubt. Or you know how I do it, right? No. The hand is quicker than the eyes. I've been picking my nose all this time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Your blade went through? Tell the truth. Your blade went through. Here, hold my thumb and finger this time. Just hold onto the thumb and finger. 1, 2, 2.5, 3. So, I enjoyed this at the airport when you have little children, and I would make one of these, but you're not little children, I'm not insulting you. This is my little doggy. Split your tongue. And so you ask, do you like cats? Don't lie to me. You know what happened when Pinocchio told a lie? His nose grew, right? Okay, so I thank you. Very careful.
Dr. Francine Abel's in the room. Well, wonderful. Would you come up and make your presentation, please? We've never met. I'm Tyler Barrett. Fran? Great. And is this, how about the topic? Is this... Okay. This is my new friend, Fran, and she's going to talk to you about Lewis Carroll's Math and Logic today. Please give her a warm
Now that I've seen these two presentations, I wonder what I'm doing here. I think the connection is really Martin Gardner and his work. Can you hear me?
That mic is on there, ma'am. Just swing it around towards you.
Better?
Yes.
It's not even on.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it is.
is.
Okay, good enough. I can at least hear myself. So I think the connection with Lewis Carroll is Martin Gardner, and I'm a member of the Lewis Carroll Society of North America. I assume Martin is too. And there may be several other. Are there any members of the society here? One? Okay. We'll talk afterward. And Martin has done a great deal of work in many aspects of Carroll's work. Certainly games, puzzles, Alice, the annotated Alice, and lots of other ways that perhaps some of you know about and some of you don't. And I think the reason that I wanted to say a few words is that both Martin and I believe very strongly, and so do a few other people, that some of Lewis Carroll's serious mathematical work, some of his puzzle work, some of his work in logic, was really important, and that it's been overshadowed by his wonderful literature. This is not to say that the literature shouldn't be the most important thing, but one wants to give Lewis Carroll his due in other ways as well. So what I thought I would talk about briefly is some work about Lewis Carroll's serious side that is either recent, and by recent I'm saying 1990 and forward, or is about to emerge sometime after today. You know, Lewis Carroll spent his entire life in one place, Christ Church, Oxford University. He went there as a student. He did all his degree work there, and he stayed on to become the mathematical lecturer of Christ Church. He was also what they called a student, which meant he was what we call a fellow. And in 1881, Alice books were produced in 1864 and Through the Looking Glass in 1882. So in 1881, Carroll was rich enough to resign his mathematical lectureship and give it over to other people. He was 49 years old when he did that, and he had had the job for 26 years. I guess it's about time to give it up then. Dealing with all those boring undergraduates who don't know very much. Anyway, he said he had so many projects that he wanted to devote the rest of his life to those things. Well, some people have written that after 1881, after he resigned the lectureship, that he really did nothing mathematically productive to that. And one of the things I hope you will come away with today is the notion that he did many productive things after 1881. Probably his best, unquestionably, his best work was on determinants. And he produced a paper in 1866 and a book in 1867 on this topic. His method in his paper was called the condensation. It's been written about casually, but not too long ago, several people at the Institute for Defense Analysis in Princeton were able to answer an open problem in combinatorial enumeration. Don't ask me what it is, I don't know myself. But they used as one of the links in that proof Dodson's condensation method, which put him in a development line that began in the early part of the century with a man named Jacobi, went on through another mathematician named Sylvester, then Dodson, and then modern mathematicians McMahon, Andrus, and McDonald, until Mills, Robbins, and Rumsey actually solved this problem. And what Robbins wrote in a little paper, actually